Hey everyone, it's Roberto. So today is not the video I wanted to make. I wanted to make something completely different, but I feel like I have to make this video. Yeah, another serious video. Great, fantastic. Thank you, 2020. We have a crisis in the creator community. We have a crisis of mental health. We have a crisis of burnout. We have a crisis of toxicity. The world itself seems to be coming apart at the seams. And guess what? The internet is not separate from that. It's an extension of the real world. We're all real people here on the internet. We all have lives, and everything that happens in the world impacts and affects us. And then everything that happens on the internet also just adds to it and adds to it. And so at some point, people break, and they break down. And it's because chronic stress, chronic anxiety, just a slew of things that constantly just add to the pile of everything that is just ripping apart at our mental health, just shredding it. And so on that happy note, we have to jump into today's video. Hey everybody, this is Roberto Blake, and we are not talking about anything awesome today. We're talking about creator burnout, something you may be experiencing now, have experienced in the past, or I hope not, might experience in the future. So what is creator burnout? You might find yourself in a situation where something that you once enjoyed, you don't enjoy it anymore, you don't like doing it anymore. You find yourself frustrated, you find yourself exhausted, you find yourself going through the motions, you find yourself completely demotivated. You might even find yourself, going through a bout of depression and you can't seem to put your finger on why. And guess what? You are experiencing burnout right now. And it's not just because maybe you're overworked or you're just tired and that you just need to rest and sleep it off. It's not that simple. It's because you might be experiencing chronic stress and you might be dealing with mental exhaustion. You might even be dealing with decision fatigue. Now, I'm not a professional, I'm not a doctor, I'm not licensed, none of this, just take this all with a grain of salt. I'm just somebody who openly talks about this with the community and my own experiences. And how I've survived dealing with my own mental health struggles. I've been very open about that here on the channel, and it's because we need to be. And it's because when we don't talk about these things and when we don't express these things, when we don't share these things, it ends very badly a lot of the times. And I know that from personal experience. Chronic stress is like the devil. It's the devil. Chronic stress is so bad and it's so toxic that actually eats holes in your brain. They did a Yale study about this. You can look it up. It's so bad that it actually eats holes in your brain. So guess what? That trash short-term memory you're experiencing, feeling maybe like you're always on edge or that you have a hair trigger, not being able to sleep, going through, bouts of insomnia that you didn't have before, finding yourself with all these racing thoughts, it's not an accident. Oh, and I can't imagine, why would you have chronic stress as a content creator, let alone a human living through 2020 right now? Oh, I can't imagine why that would be a thing. You have everything that's happening out there right now, and it's not getting any better, and it doesn't look like it's getting better anytime soon. But then, because everyone is going through that, and then they're at home, they go to the internet, and then they forget that on the back end of every comment, on the back end of every tweet, on the back end of every snide remark, guess what? That's a real person. That's a real human being. And so we've got this, toxic culture of online bullying, and cancel culture is part of it. There's a difference between cancel culture and holding people accountable. And I'll talk about Jenna Marbles for 20 seconds at some point in this video. But I really want to drive that point home, because if the culture of social media and social media existed the way it does right now, when 18 or 20 years ago, when I was in high school, I wouldn't exist right now. I would not be here. When I was in high school, and I've shared this story before and I'm going to keep it short. When I was in high school, I was experiencing a lot of bullying, both physical and verbal abuse pretty regularly. And it got so bad that I used to cut class. Not to smoke or drink or hang out with the cool kids or any of that. No, I used to cut class. I used to find somewhere to hide in the school, and I would just sit there and I would doodle and I would sketch in my notebook and I would cry. And I would do that so that I could have a day off just to cry, just to get out of my system, just to be alone. And it was so I could have a day off from the bullying. So I could have a day off where for a couple of hours, I'm not worried about getting the crap beat out of me, either physically or emotionally. And my mom never knew about it until after I graduated, because my mom was going through her own chronic stress. She was going through her own bouts of depression. My mom was raising 4 of us. She was raising me and my 3 younger siblings. She was working full-time as a nurse and a lot of times overtime at a military hospital. And so I didn't want to add to her problems. I wanted to add to her worries. And I got to a point to where I thought that I was so much of a bother to everybody that I just didn't want to be around anymore, that I didn't want to exist, that I was a mistake. And I kept thinking that one of these days I'll just correct that mistake. And this is me years ago with like a handful of, or maybe a dozen people bullying me on a regular basis. Okay? If you're a small YouTuber, or you're a small Instagrammer or a smaller influencer, you might be getting about, a couple of dozen people bullying you every day. And I went through that already in a world before the internet. The internet escalates it to an unreasonable degree. And so when I think about what happens when in real life, seeing the look on my face, seeing the tears wasn't enough for these people to stop and to do any better. When that wasn't enough, I think about the internet and how you never actually have to see the damage that you do to somebody, and how that dehumanizes, and how that makes it permissible to just do the wrong thing, to be mean-spirited, to be petty, to be cruel, and to not think about the harm that you're inflicting on the psyche and on the mental health of another human being, on somebody's son, on somebody's daughter, on somebody's mother, on somebody's father, on somebody's friend. And that it becomes this very passive experience that allows us to indulge our worst, cruelest instincts. And it really terrifies me, because if what we have in social media had existed when I was going through all of that, I would be dead right now. I wouldn't exist. I wouldn't be here. Everything I've built, anyone I've helped, any value that I've created, what I've done to help my mom, what I've done to help my sisters, what I've done to help my brother, all of that completely erased, because I would have killed myself. I would not have been able to deal with that. If that was the world we were living in, I wouldn't have been here anymore. I wouldn't have lived in that world. I would not have suffered through that world, because I barely made it through the one that we had before the internet was a thing. When the internet culture and social media and all this was a thing, I barely made it out of high school alive. My mom didn't know I was cutting class. My mom didn't even know I was cutting myself. And that was a handful of people bullying me in real life. So again, I don't have anything against holding people accountable. I just don't know what we do, and I don't know how we hold people accountable when that goes sideways and it gets to its inevitable conclusion and somebody decides to not be here. I don't know what we do about that. I don't know how we hold people accountable to that, and I don't know what we do and where we go from there. And it's not like we haven't seen it. I don't know, because the problem is that we don't treat people as human beings anymore. We're barely doing it out there, and we're certainly not doing it in here, okay? And something is fundamentally wrong with us, and maybe social media is either revealing it or it's exacerbating it, because we have to fix something in here and in here for that problem to get fixed. And I don't have those answers. And again, I'm in therapy for a reason. And so how does that tie to burnout and to the creator community? YouTube and internet content, TikTok, Twitch, streaming, all of this is you getting to express yourself, and it's supposed to be fun, and it's supposed to be the thing you're doing to escape all of those horrible things. It's supposed to be this place where you have the refuge and where you have the acceptance, because a lot of us are creative people and we are misfits, and we've been made to feel like freaks of nature our whole life, and we wanted an exit strategy. We wanted an escape hatch from that, where we could have something good in our life because we need it, because that's how we're gonna get through our day. And that in so many ways, in so many subtle ways over the years, keeps getting tainted more and more as time goes on. And it's all these little subtle things. And it gets worse if you end up doing this for a living. If you end up doing this for a living, it's great. It can give you so many opportunities. You meet so many wonderful people. You might be able to do tremendous things that allow you to help other people, help your family, help yourself. There's so much that I love about being a content creator, but there's people who won't even try to do it because they cannot survive even just one more bit of a rejection, of hate, of that being dehumanized and devalued. It's too much to ask. And for it to happen at the scale that it happens, they see that and they retreat from one of the things that could be the best thing in their life, the best opportunity, the best thing they could have ever done, the way they could express themselves, the way that they could, represent what their community is or what their culture is or who they are as an individual. Like all these great things that they could do, they'll never do it because they look at the toxicity, they look at the worst of it, and they know that that's too much, that they can't take it, that they can't hang with that, and they're not weak for that. They're not, okay? So what do we do here? There's this added level of also that the outside world doesn't respect what it means to be a content creator. This is like one of the only things in the world, this and like online business and stuff like that, but even that gets a little bit more play now, where you have to justify and constantly explain what you do, why it's valid, and also justify why you get paid for that. And it's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous because it takes so much skill. It takes so many different skill sets and knowledge bases to do any of this. It's not something that just anybody can do well. It's not, okay? Just because anyone in theory could do it doesn't mean that everyone can in reality. And I'll make a video about that, but it's so frustrating. And like I said, don't expect this video to be super edited and don't expect it to be much more than a rant because I just can't even right now. It's getting harder and harder to articulate my thoughts on this thing because there's so many emotions that I feel. I feel frustrated, I feel angry, and I feel exhausted. And I think that so many of you probably are feeling that too for a lot of reasons. And when I think about the effort that I see my friends and my colleagues and people I look up to making, you realize that a lot of these people, they put 1 hour to 10 hours into every single minute of footage that you're seeing. Even this video, do you realize I actually tried to do this video 5 times and literally one of them I ended up throwing something out of sheer frustration? So it's, but when we complain about what we're going through, the chronic stress, the anxiety, the bullying, how difficult it is to stay motivated with everything happening in the world, all of those things, everyone attacks us. There's no sympathy for outside of this community, no one gets it and no one wants to hear it. No one wants to hear what we deal with. Nobody who's not a content creator can understand. And it's so unfair and it's so ridiculous because it is legit hard, but then when you don't talk about it, it's because you don't feel like you can. It's this guilt and it's the shaming, like, oh, get a real job, or oh, that's not hard, or boy, must be nice to be able to just sit there and make goofy videos on the internet instead of having to do a real job. It's like, it is real work. Editing is a real job. Filmmaking is a real job. Photography is a real job. Writing scripts is a real job. It's 5 jobs, it's 10 jobs, it's 8 jobs. And the lack of respect is one more added layer to the problem for the community and why it's so hard to talk about burnout, how hard it is to talk about everything when you have to constantly defend yourself. And then you don't have permission to do that. And if you don't take criticism on the chin, then you've broken the cardinal sin of the internet, where in real life, no one has to, in real life, take criticism well. None of us take criticism well in real life. In fact, there's a couple of us in real life, the consequences of criticism is we throw hands. And I'm not advocating for that. I'm just saying in the real world, beyond the extension of it that comes into the internet, if somebody walks up to you and then decides to criticize you to your face and it goes badly for them, a lot of people are gonna be like, well, you didn't have to do that. But it's different in the internet. And again, there's some of it that I respect and some of it that I think is valid, but a lot of it ain't. And again, where are the consequences then? It's so, we pretend that the internet is far removed from reality, and that makes it easier to dehumanize and to devalue and to disrespect people when we shouldn't be doing that. We shouldn't be doing that, and we shouldn't feel like we can excuse it or rationalize it. I don't know what we do other than try to be better, and I'd like to believe that we can do better than this. So last part I'll talk about real quick is Jenna Marbles. I know that I mentioned it earlier. The reason that I'm not speaking for Jenna, but like Jenna's been an OG creator. Like I've been doing this as of this summer for like 7 years as an active creator, but I was in the community before that. Jenna was and is one of my favorite content creators, and she's an OG creator. When I think about the amount of hate comments that my friends who are smaller YouTubers get on a regular basis with like just 3,000 or 5,000 subs, and then I think about someone like Jenna who's been around forever, and I think about how much more hate my female friends who are content creators get, and you exacerbate all of that. Whatever minimal amount of criticism or hate you think she got, I'm telling you, it's not that small. You guys are not in the spam filter. I'll just speak for myself here. It's like, you know, I have like about 40, 50,000 undeleted spam messages because, like, you know what? The 5,000th time you delete the N-word, you just kind of give up. So for all of the amount of hate that I can only imagine exist there, because by the way, we still see it unless we just abandon the comment section, another cardinal sin of the platform. Oh, why don't you engage? Why aren't you in the comments? Why don't you care about your audience? But we can't win. And that's why some people are burnt out and some people are giving up and some people are not even trying anymore, is because it doesn't feel like we can do anything right. Something we do will be privileged, ungrateful, entitled, or wrong. We can't win. That's how we feel. That's what we're not allowed to say, because woe is us. We have the easiest job in the world. We don't. We never did. And that's how I feel about it. So I don't want to end the video there. I want to give you something optimistic. I want to give you something a little bit hopeful. We have a great community here. I love that we have a great community here. And I think that if we all tried to do this is what I would like. And not just for me, for anybody out there. If you enjoy what somebody's doing, tell them, thank them. If you feel angry or upset or offended by something someone did, before you attack or make an assertion, ask them why they did that thing or what they had to say, and just take a breath, or maybe even just walk away, diffuse that thing. Do not go there, because you don't know. Whatever it is, and I'm gonna try to be better about this myself, and here's why. It doesn't make us any happier to do any of it. Does it? It really doesn't. And it doesn't make anybody else's day any easier or any better, and there's just so much horrible in the world. Can we just pump the brakes for a minute? And can we just be nicer to people? And I know that sounds corny. And I know some people are some jackhole in the comments is gonna say I'm being disingenuous. I'm just exhausted. I'm just tired. I'm just frustrated. And I have two choices. I can hug everybody or I can punch anybody. I can just hug everybody or I can punch everybody right now. And I mean that figuratively, all right? So I'm choosing, and maybe that's what we should do. If given the option, could we just choose to be kind? What would the world look like if given the option in any given situation, if we choose to ask ourselves, would this be kind? Would this be helpful? And is this necessary right now? And I think if we did that, then things could get better. And at a bare minimum, we'll feel better about ourselves, if nothing else, because we'll know that regardless of whatever else happens, that we got it right, that we chose to be better than we were yesterday. And so with that, I'd love for you guys to look for your favorite creators, and especially the smaller content creators, they really need some support. They really need some encouragement to stick this out and to get through all of this. And so if you could just, whenever you're watching someone's stuff, if you could just say something nice about what they did and why you liked it, or give them a compliment, a sincere compliment, then I think that that makes a world of difference to somebody. I know it makes a world of difference to me when you guys do it. You have no idea how thankful I am for that, and how much my life was not that before the internet. I'll talk about that in another video. But you know, I just think that that would be a way that we could do something truly awesome for other people. And if more people did that, then I think that, you know, maybe it gets a little better out there. Maybe it does. I don't know. Anyway, that's what I want to leave you with, something optimistic. Like this video if you like it, and we'll get back to normal content very soon. I promise. I will try my best to not have to make any more videos like this if we can help it. You know, as always, you guys, thanks so much for watching. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other. Go out there, create something awesome today. I'll catch you on the next one.